why did Kodak do this? Why would Kodak go into this business? I mean, as she very clearly points out, look, this is not your main business.
Because I think before she had a part of this business selling the film. So the thing that was interesting in that case is that Polaroid wanted the whole part of the pie. And this is the mistake because by this way you have like an enormous competitor against your sole market. So it's
So take a look at Appendix B at the end of the case, last page of page 18. I want you to watch what happens over time. Back when this original lens camera was introduced, this great big camera with these little sepia-tone pictures, what do you think the people at Kodak said about it? It's a fad, you know, you gotta put this glop on a great big camera. It's a fad, it'll never last. And then in the 1950s, what happened at Polaroid? No, that's Kodak. We'll come back to that. It's like Polaroid. What happened?
Growing substantially.
Polaroid started growing, and they got true black and white film. They got away from the sepia tone stuff. And they got faster ASA speeds. Now this came up near the end of the discussion. I'm not a photographer, but what I understand is the faster ASA speeds let you take pictures in more light conditions,
yes.
dark and motion.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Okay. So it's better camera, more choices. So we started to get a real camera from Polaroid. And at Kodak, as June points out, what happened?
The film and the processing got split by the U.S. law.
Was that significant?
That was.
Because you make a lot of money doing what? Processing and film. Okay? If you do both, it's a money machine. Okay? So if you get that split off, that's a significant strategic event that happened. And then in the 1960s, what happened to Polaroid?
They came up with color.
Color. Okay? And it got faster, and what happened to the prices of the cameras? Came down significantly. And over at Kodak, is it Carolina or Carolina? Which do you prefer? Either? Okay. Carolina says, look, they had this great position at Kodak because they were making the film. They knew how much he was making. They knew the technology. And then, so through the 60s, that was great. They could monitor the whole thing. And then at the end of the 60s, you see what our team actually did. The rumors that Kodak was going to actually make a color pack compatible film started. And in the 70s, Ed Land came out with the SX7. Now, it had two very modest objectives for the SX7. One was the perfection of photography. What was the second?
Integrated company.
Build an integrated company. Okay. What had they been historically? Did they manufacture anything?
No.
No. Did they pay attention to finance? No, it's a lot easier when your average PE is 44. You just don't worry about it too much, right? So because of all the hype around the company, that's pretty easy to do. And marketing, were they great at marketing? No, they were awful. Terrible. They took orders at most. So they didn't have anything except great products. But now he says, I'm going to manufacture it all. And he took it away from Kodak. Now, notice that there are two things going on here. First of all, we start out with these two technologies. The two technologies are this far apart: conventional photography and instant photography. And as we go into the 50s, we have black and white. Then we have color. And now the prices are coming down. And if you look at the vectors, if you look at the direction of these two things, what is likely to happen? You could have what we call a structural change to instant. I mean, why would anybody get their film developed if you could get the same quality and cost for snapshots instantly? Why would you do it? So now you're Kodak, and you're sitting there, you're looking at this particular situation, you're seeing this happen. And you don't have a choice. You have to go into this particular market because there might be what we call a structural change in the business. Now, there are four kinds of change. One of them is structural, and that's the only one we're going to talk about right now. What happens when there's a structural change in the business? The future will never be like the past. Lots of businesses go through structural change. How many vacuum tube manufacturers are there today? There are a few in the microwave area. How many full-service gasoline stations outside of Oregon and New Jersey in the United States? None, they're all gone, okay? There are structural changes in those businesses. Okay? How many full-service bookstores are there? When I came to Palo Alto, there were 6. There's now 1. Okay? Structural change in a business means the future will never be like the past. You're going to have to operate with a different set of rules. So one reason is a structural change in this business is potentially likely. Is there an antitrust reason for doing this?
Yes,
So if this is conventional photography, what share of this is Kodak have?
100.
85% is a good number. 85 to 90% of this market. How do you fight antitrust? Change the definition of the market. Judge, listen, you need to understand, it's not conventional photography. The real title is amateur photography, and there's this big piece that's instant photography that's $800 million. And so we don't really have 60 or 85%, we really have 65%. They probably still have a challenge at 65%. You get above 60, it's a difficulty. But it does help you with your antitrust situation. All right. Coming around should have come a sheet with 3 concepts that I want you to be aware of. I'm going to introduce, and then we'll go to our break here. The 3 concepts I want you to take out of this class. These concepts are the concepts of the competitive arena, competitive weapons, and competitive signaling. All right? Competitive arenas are where the battle takes place. Typical arenas are the business arenas that you see here, marketing, production, finance, R&D, or third-party arenas, legal and regulatory. Okay? Where did Kodak want this battle to be fought? What arena primarily? Marketing, and that's what we saw. Okay, that's what you guys did. Where do you think Polaroid would want the battle fought? Legal?
Products.
And where's the second one?
Products.
Product, R&D, okay? Those are the 2, different choice of arenas. Second, competitive weapons. Within each arena there are choice of weapons, and we saw some of that, and we'll come back to that issue. Then there are these things called competitive signals, right? Now, I want to give you an example of a competitive signal. They took a little bit of information out of this version of the case, and I'm sorry they did it, but let me tell you the rest of the story. You know from reading the case that these 2 companies just happened to have their annual meeting on the same day every year. I'm sure it's an accident of scheduling, it just happens that way, right? There's nothing planned about this at all. So here we have both companies preparing for the annual meeting. And into the annual meeting, we know that the day before, Ed Land does something, right? What the case no longer tells you, that I wish it did, was he does this at 4:59 p.m., the day before the annual meeting of both companies. What did he do? Quit. No? What did he do? The case tells you what he did. It just didn't tell you when. File a patent suit. Why would you do it at 4:59 p.m. the day before both annual meetings?
Can't respond.
The other party cannot respond, okay? So into this meeting the next morning over at Kodak headquarters, are going to come these shareholders. They're going to be reading the Wall Street Journal. Okay? And in the journal, they're going to have this notice. Now, you also know that at Kodak, they have this thing where they have very nicely increasing revenues, but they have flattening earnings. Now, the president and COO, Walter Fallon, loves to go in and talk to his shareholders when this is going on. Now, let me see, Mr. Fallon, your revenues are going up, but the earnings are flat or down. That sounds like a management problem, Mr. Fallon. Are you and your team messing this up? And in addition to that, they're going to be reading the Wall Street Journal. In the Wall Street Journal, Ed Land is saying, those dirty, rotten guys stole our stuff. They violated our patents, and we filed suit. There was no response to the journal's inquiry to Kodak headquarters. Now, I suspect, I just have a suspicion, that this was a signal from Ed to Walter. What was he saying? What was he saying?
I think he was saying that he wasn't going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, we're going to fight. We're going to fight. Is this going to be a gentlemanly fight? No. Get in here. This is going to be a war. We're going to fight hard. And then he stands up at his own annual meeting and he says, this is our very soul that we're involved with. This is our whole life. For them, it's just another field. The only thing that keeps us alive is our brilliance, and the only thing that protects our brilliance is our patents. We'll stay in our lot and protect that lot. How serious this is remains to be seen. That's for the courts to decide. No sign of the settlement in that statement that I saw.